These guys ain't about anything. I was. And I thought the rest of them were like me, but they found out they weren't.
What were you about?
Violence. Everywhere you go, you're a little paranoid. Where you're supposed to be. That if you talk in the house, there's wiretaps. If you're in the car, there's wiretaps. I don't want to see him again. Make sure he disappears. Put a couple in his head. The first time I was arrested was probably 83, 84, 87, I got locked up again. 89, another assault. 90, another assault. I went to prison in 91. 2003, I went on the run. And I was on Interpol's Most Wanted. And eventually they caught me back in Brazil. And I ended up spending 2 years, 8 months in a concentration camp, one of the most dangerous jails in those countries. Nothing like the American prisons.
You have aspirations for running for Congress. When are you going to run? John, thanks for joining me today. And so you kind of came into my radar because we've been doing a number of roundtable discussions here in New Jersey, and I sat down with some mayors a few weeks ago, one of which was Dan Francisco from your town, Englishtown, New Jersey. And I had a follow-up conversation with Dan on the phone, and we were talking about doing some events based on the theme of criminal justice reform or giving second chances after incarceration and things like that. And he said to me, you need to meet my friend, John Alite. And so that's kind of what we're doing today. So thanks for being here.
Thank
and
you for having me.
I really look forward to hearing more about your story and your background, because it sounds like you've had a pretty colorful life. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
I just had listen, I tell everybody I speak to, because I do a lot of talks around inner cities around the world at the police academies, police departments, juvenile centers, one-on-ones, whatever. And the biggest thing I tell people is there's nobody that lives in a perfect situation. So I don't make excuses for myself. I grew up in a rough kind of upbringing, violent upbringing around the mob. And I made mistakes. And now I tell people, listen, take responsibility for yourself and move on. Don't make excuses and get on with it and do the right thing. That's really the short of it.
Yeah. When you say you grew up in a violent situation or you grew up around the mob, are you talking about like in childhood, or it's something that came into your life in adulthood?
Well, if you look at my age category, we grew up when there was a lot of racism. So we grew up during the riots. We grew up in schools where there was a lot of fighting. Not normal school situations. When you go to junior high school and high school, you had police all over at the doors. They were chaining doors. There were race riots. I grew up in a house where my family was from Albania. It was a communist country. So we grew up, since we're 3 and 4 years old, me and my brother, we had to learn how to fight, because my father thought that was something that was very important. So we were routinely boxing at young ages. We were routinely working out. He wasn't really, didn't care much about education. And then my neighborhood was my baseball coach. A local baseball coach was a Gambino soldier, our neighborhood boss. My little girlfriend's father and uncle were the neighborhood bosses in another family, the Lucchese family. And my friends, all their fathers were bosses, and, not bosses, but, major figures in a mob. And my father's best friend and became his business partner. And my uncle's was Lucky Luciano's cousin, Charlie Luciano Blackie, was also a made guy in the Gambino family. So between it all, I had a rough upbringing, and me and my friends, all of us, they were Catholic, I wasn't. I went to the church, and we got molested by a priest. So I think if you take everything, you throw it in, you're going to a boiling point eventually.
Yeah, that's a recipe, for some things to go wrong, I think, for sure. Did it feel, molestation aside, did the mafia elements that were in your life, did it feel normal to you? Did you question? Did you say this is weird, I live a fucked up life, or were you like, this is family?
I just thought this was normal. You got to remember also, I grew up in an area where we watched a lot of guys get hurt. Most normal kids are afraid of blood. We learned as little kids to start boxing. So you're bleeding a lot, you're training a lot. And then when we seen blood in the street, we watch guys baseball bat other guys. We watch guys get shot or stabbed. In our area on Jamaica Avenue, East New York, Jamaica, either side, you go to Ozone Park, everything was violent. So we were so used to it. you were it was just routine for us. So
Numb.
yeah, you're kind of numb to it, and it's just, you think it's normal. You think this is going on around the world. I didn't know anything outside our little neighborhood at that time.
Okay. Well, I grew up on a cattle farm in Nebraska, and we definitely didn't see a lot of that stuff going on. So I can assure you, not normal for everybody. Very unique circumstance you were in. So you eventually were part of the mafia yourself, right?
Yeah, I was an enforcer in the mob. Started off like most kids, I guess, tiptoeing around the mob, learning your way around, getting mentored by different guys that understood crime, that were, top players in that world. And eventually I became one of those guys.
I don't know a lot about how the mob works, but are there guys in the mob who don't commit violence, who kind of organize and run things, and other guys who commit violence? And
it's like any other corporation. Everybody has a part to play. But most guys think that all these mob guys are tough guys and violent. It's not true at all. It's probably 2% of them. And the other 2% are earners, and the other 96% are sheep. They're not the most intelligent guys, and that's why they recruit them, because they're easily be manipulated when they're young, and easily to, follow orders without disobeying. And if you disobey, especially in our era, I have a podcast, I just talked about that. There's every corner I could show you a murder. It's incredible when you talk like that, because there was consequences back then to your actions. Now, the mafia is different. It reinvented itself as more of a white-collar outfit enterprise.
You said you were an enforcer?
I became an enforcer, yeah.
And what does that mean exactly?
That means when somebody asks a wrong question, to joke. No, it's if whatever the boss that may be for the week, whether it's construction money, whether it's somebody that hurt a girl, somebody that family member got raped, whether it's business with the mob where you stole money, whatever that may be, we come. Most guys go to work at 9 a.m. We're on call 24/7. When the boss says, go see this guy, he'll tell you, I want you to slap him, I want you to baseball bat him, I want you to hurt him. Sometimes he doesn't tell you why. Just find this guy, here he is, this is where he works, this is where he lives, and put him in a hospital. Don't kill him. Or, shoot him up, don't kill him. Or just slap him, but, let him know next time you're gonna kill him. This is everyday business in that world.
So when you were given assignments or things that you were supposed to do, you weren't asked to kill people?
I mean, first, it's not you. Those terminologies I use, there's other terminologies without
what
you saying. So, this term like deep six him. I don't want to see him again. Make sure he disappears. Mm-hmm. Put a couple in his head. Whatever is going to be said. Because again, everywhere you go, you're a little paranoid. Where you're supposed to be. That if you talk in the house, there's wiretaps. If you're in a car, there's wiretaps. If you're in somebody's building that everybody goes to, there's wiretaps. We're sitting at a table. We always eat at the same restaurant. So you start talking a little bit, innuendos, eye contact. We put on loud music, talk to each other. We go in saunas. I mean, it depends how, and obviously people say, well, how did this guy get caught up in so many hours of tapes? Because people are normal every day. When you live a routine life, you start to get comfortable, and you just don't, you kind of, like anything else, you're not on your game 24/7, it's impossible. So eventually, when law enforcement's, constantly on it and persistent, they're eventually going to catch you, because you're going to talk somewhere. It's in human nature.
You did spend time in prison.
I spent a lot of time in prison.
How much time?
In and out, about 18 years.
Oh, so it wasn't just one stint?
No.
How many?
I was stupid many times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. What were you in and out for?
The first time I was arrested was probably 83, 84 for assaults. That was in California and Florida. I was in and out. I didn't do much time, whatever I was, a month. 87, I got locked up again for, it wasn't my gun. I took the gun for a friend of mine, who later on, he ends up getting killed. They never find his body, but he got caught with a gun. We were in a car. I accepted it, said it was mine because he had a pending case. 89, another assault. 90, another assault. I went to prison in 91, got out in 92. I went in for, basically I abused the district attorney in front of a judge for speeding tickets and nonsense. So they gave me weekends for a couple of months for that. And then 94 and 5, I got locked up for assault and gun cases. 96, I went away till 99. Got out and went right back in on a violation in 2000. Got out again and went back in 2001 for bringing contraband into a prison. And I believe assault in 2000 it was. 2003, I went on the run, and I was on Interpol's Most Wanted. And they caught me. I had about 8 passports at the time. I went to 20-something countries. I lived in Cuba, Africa, Colombia, around the world, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, you name it. I lived there, Albania, Greece, Italy, Ivory Coast, Denmark, Germany, and eventually they caught me back in Brazil. And I ended up spending 2 years, 8 months in a concentration camp called Ari Franco and Bangu 2. It's one of the most dangerous, one of the most dangerous jails in those countries. And no advocate groups ever been in those prisons at the time when I spent there. So it was nothing like the American prisons.
Okay, so from the first time you went to prison through to that, if that's the end, how many years passed between all of that you just said?
I started off probably at about 31, 32. Prior to that, I was in and out when I was a little younger, but at about 31, 32. And I finished up at about 50, going to be 51.
Wow, it's a busy couple of decades. Yeah, there. So, okay, so if you're going in and out for these multiple assaults, were the majority of the assaults associated with assignments that you were given, or was it ever violence that you initiated on your own?
I mean, sometimes it's violence on your own. You know, the problem with the mob world is this. You have so many people that don't understand that world, and they're out of pocket. Like I had a construction worker, I'll give you an example, that he pulls in my property. I had about a 7-block driveway. I had 3 houses, I had baseball cages, I had built-in pool, lake. I built 3 houses on the property, outdoor boxing ring with a tent, a pavilion to work out, motorcycles, quads. And he's doing construction work. I was in Hawaii, and he breaks in my house, and he's sleeping with a girl in my bed. Doesn't do what he was supposed to do, takes my money. I end up hurting him. And when I have him tied up at that time, he asks me, you know, please, and he's begging. And I said, you want to make a fool of me? I said, did I look like I was a stockbroker or somebody to you? Because while he's there, he sees all kinds of cars coming, street guys that weren't, you know, we wear a lot of back then, especially like workout, suits and track suits. And so you got to be kind of stupid to think, it's obvious what we do for a living. I'm a young guy, and I own a multi-million-dollar estate. What the hell do you think I'm doing?
Right.
Tattooed up, boxing rings, and, like I said, you got street guys around. So I ended up hurting him, and that was more personal, me hurting him, obviously, than the mob stuff. But it kind of works hand in hand because, it's like you're a banker, you go to work and you're in a bank, but if there's problems in that bank, whether it's because of something that happened with another teller, it still becomes your situation. I'm making a kind of bad analogy, but you understand what I'm saying.
No, I totally get it. And so I guess my question is, because I know a part of your story is that you've changed your life, right? You live a very different way now. So what made that change happen? I mean, it sounds like prison it doesn't sound like you were scared to go back to prison because you kept going back.
Well, yeah, you believe in that world. You believe that you're doing the righteous thing, because I was, and I hate to use the word brainwashed because I blame myself. I don't blame others for my life and my choices. I don't care what situation I grew up in. I could have made different choices. I had a full ride scholarship in baseball. I had the Series 7 test stockbroker's license. And all right, there was things that happened that I got sidetracked from those things, injuries, and I had a record, so they kept firing me from my jobs as a stockbroker. That doesn't mean I couldn't win another right path, but I just think that when you're in that world and that mindset, you just stay there, and you don't want to change your life. You just think you're doing the right thing, and you're learning obviously you're learning the ways around the street to be very rich and successful, but you're mixing up success and you miss it with being an everyday good citizen, God-loving family guy. It just doesn't mix together. And anybody that says it does is lying.
So what changed you?
Changed me because the best analogy for this is I was sitting in those penitentiaries and I decided to leave my family, my millions behind, my businesses behind, stay loyal to the mafia. And when I was there, the mafia didn't stay loyal to me. Not like most guys, I didn't do the time and say, okay, I'm going to talk. Or I could have took my money and never stayed in a Brazilian penitentiary for 2 years, 8 months, and just said, okay, I don't want to spend the day. I'll just give everybody up, and I don't need to spend millions doing that. I don't have to lose my family. And I said, no, I'm going to do that. While I did that, it's like two people that got married, and the wife's out sleeping with 6 guys. And then the husband goes and sleeps with a woman, and they call the husband the cheater. Who's the cheater? So that's what happened to me in a short version. 2 crime families, the Gambino family, the Bonanno family, from the bosses down were cooperating. The Bonanno boss was wearing wires, and the Gambino family, all their captains, all the main guys, were all cooperating one after another with guys like Sammy Gravano prior to that. And I'm saying, who am I staying loyal to? These are the Italian guys that grew up pricking their fingers, and I'm doing the work for them. I'm the one making the money. I'm the guy in the street getting stabbed up, getting battered, going in and out of jail, staying in a third world country where I'm going to the bathroom in a hole, showering out of a spigot with a 15-watt light bulb that goes out, the grid falls, closes down. You're in the dark, it rains inside, it's freezing inside. There's machetes, guns in these prisons, not like American prisons. And I'm staying loyal, and they're all betraying the oath of no sitting down with anybody in law enforcement. There is no such thing as trying to cut deals. There's Ronnie One-Arm, captain of Gambino family, does an opening statement saying, I'm a Gambino captain, but I'm just a bookmaker. If I'm not nice to Johnny Alite, that's what they call my name, it's really Alite, he'll kill me like everybody else. He's the killer, he's a rogue, he's a loose cannon. He's the Gotti's partner in drugs and violence. And these aren't hidden facts. He made those statements. These guys, while sitting in a Brazilian penitentiary, one after another, were meeting the government, making deals, wearing wires like Joe Messina. Sal Vitale is on the boss's brother-in-law. And I asked for help from the Genovese family, Lucchese family. He says, it's your family business, nothing to do with us. They gave me a no. And the Colombo family, that whole family was decimated in the early 90s because of all them cooperating. So what's the secret here? You have 3 crime families that are cooperating, and they have all the bosses, like Joe Messina, like Sammy Gravano, that are hiding as soon as they cooperate. I didn't cooperate. You guys cooperated against me. I just fired back at you.
Well, I can appreciate you not feeling loyal to people in the mafia who are not loyal to you. But the part I don't understand is, how do you go from there to getting out of the life completely? I mean, I assume you're not still out, roughing people up.
No, the problem was with the mob is, first, this is the 1980s. They try to live off that image of when we were out there, daily. Like in 1987, 4 guys in that month period, or that week period, I believe, were killed. I just did a podcast about them. A guy named Vito Scaglione, who gets killed in a barber chair like Albert Anastasia. That doesn't occur anymore, first. Second, I'm not a made member of that family. When it's convenient, they want to say I'm a boss, a street boss, and everybody's talking against me, he's the killer. When it's convenient, they say he's Albanian. When it's convenient, they call me a junkie. Anybody that knows me knows I was a workout guy. Did I ever dabble like most teenagers and young guys? Of course, I'm not going to sit here and lie. But my business was making money off that business, not using it. And anybody who knows me, I was an extreme athlete. I was very disciplined. In violence, in the world of crime, on making money, I had an agenda. It wasn't to do drugs, get high. I didn't have dependency problems. But when I watch one guy after another betray that oath, and I'm talking about not the underlings or the associates, because a lot of them flipped also too, along with cousins of mine. Who am I being loyal to? I'm being loyal to what exactly? To an organization that's not loyal to itself? And I'm trying to, when I go out and I talk to kids in different neighborhoods, and anybody that with half a brain has got to sit there and say, listen, let's just look at the timeline. Where was he? Don't believe his story, don't believe their story. Let's just do some research, look at the timeline, and see what happened. And then look at the rules of the mafia. And what's the rules of our mafia? There is no talking. There is no meeting anybody in law enforcement. There is no trying to cut a deal or trying to trick somebody or any other thing that all these guys are making comments about. And at the end of the day, I said, what am I, the only guy that's following their rules? And I'm not even Italian. So, and then at the end of the day, if you ask for their resume, they don't have anything on it. And that's not my word. Anybody that does any research, these guys ain't about anything. I was. And I thought the rest of them were like me, but they found out they weren't.
What were you about?
Violence. I was the one that was enforcing things. I was the one that would go in and get, and it wasn't only that, I was also getting hurt because I put myself in those positions. It's like a general sitting back, and I don't like some generals, I can't remember his name right now, but this high-ranking general that was with Biden regime that was a fraud. He destroyed, the morale of our armed forces. But you turn around and you tell me that a general that never seen action in his life is going to tell me that's doing all the act. I'm the guy on the front lines. I'm the guy risking his life. I'm the guy getting stabbed up. I'm the guy getting battered. I'm the guy that gets shot because I put myself out there. Not just, it's easy to be a tough guy with 7 and 10 guys with you. It's when you're alone. Let me see how you behave. Let me see if you can survive in a Brazilian penitentiary by yourself. Because again, you have these cowards that portray themselves as this image to lure young kids in to follow them. I'm the guy telling you whether they want to say it or not. I wasn't the weak guy. I was the guy who was getting stabbed and hurt and shot and in and out of prisons, being loyal to an organization that they run tail and hide, like Sammy or Joe Messina or any of them, Sal Vitale, or any guy you want to name that were captains, or Ronnie One-Arm that, he went to jail, got a life sentence, but you tried to betray us. You went on open court and you tried to rat. Their words, not mine. So why would kids follow this? Why was I so stupid to believe in this world is my biggest thing when I talk to other kids. Now, I said, don't be a fool. I was a fool.
And that's part of what you're trying to do, talk to kids, talk to people, and try to make sure that other people don't go down this path, a path like you had to go down?
Well, yes. It's not, all just for them. A lot of it's for me. Because of what I did in my past, I'm not happy about it. I can't change it. So I said, let me make some good of it. Let me save some kids' lives. Let me help some people. Let me go back to church. Because what happened to me with one priest, there's also tons of priests that did the right thing and helped me. So I'm not against the church. When people ask me, are you against the church and the diocese? No, I'm against the guy that did it. And I'm against the people that helped facilitate that to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm not against the people that are good that saved my life, because there's plenty of priests that actually saved my life. So I talk about faith, and I talk about going back to the ways as a kid, we all go in the schoolyard together, whatever color, religion, race, creed, beliefs, and we all play with each other. We learn to hate by people in these worlds, in political world, that pit each other against each other. And they think it's like you're lions in a cage, just throw them all in together, and eventually they'll fight, we'll stand back in, grab all the money and the power. But I'm used to this because of the mob world. I understand the manipulation, I understand the Machiavelli of this.
So when you are out there talking to young people or going to church, things like that, it's coming from a place to a certain degree of redemption, like you're seeking redemption, or you find redemption in that.
I talk about redemption a lot because every kid that sees me do it, and they think they can't do it, and there's hundreds that reach me, maybe even thousands, since I've been doing this. It's hard to do this because everybody's attacking you at every angle. So I know it's not easy, but if they see that I can do it, and I give them the strength that they can do it, then we can change their lives. Because there's so many people that tell me, even when I went into politics, well, does he deserve another chance? And I spoke to a journalist out of Denmark, actually. She said, do you think it's good that you're she used the word celebrity. I don't like those stupid words, but you're famous and these nonsense words. And I'm like, I'm just the guy that screwed up his life, trying to do the right thing. I don't look at myself as famous, special, or anything else. I sacrificed, I suffered, I made my family suffer, I made other families suffer. So I want the redemption from God. I go to church, I pray, does he forgive me? I hope so. And what can I give back? And this is not about me now, it's about every other kid. I know they try to make it about me, everybody does. But it really isn't about me, it's nonsense. It's not about me, it's about how I can take all that crap I used to do and make something good out of it, and make them understand that any of these guys I'm talking about would never sit at a round table with me and explain to me who was disloyal, and let's talk. Let's look at timelines and see who did what and when, and why anybody should believe that life is good. Because I don't know any person, decent human being, whether he's a ball player, whether he's a gangster, whether he's a movie star, whether he's an actor, that would throw their kids in a ring and say, get in the street life, become a drug dealer, become a gangster. Who's stupid enough that would want to do that? So if somebody would want to do that to their own kid, then I would say, okay, then they really must be something wrong with them. Because there's so many things a young guy can do, a young girl can do, with education, trade, computers, drive a truck, buy 5 trucks after a while and be successful. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the world or girl. You need to be good at one thing, and you can be very rich in this country. You have opportunities. But the thing is, we got to look in the mirror and say, I need confidence. I got to have confidence. When I was young, all of us from our neighborhood didn't have the confidence to believe in ourselves because we didn't have good role models to teach us to be confident. As I got older, I started changing my friends. I started talking to more intelligent people. I started to believe in myself. I started to pray more because I didn't believe in God. I never found him when I was in prison. People try to find him. I thought it was a weakness. I think they're coming in here, they're reading the Bible, they're acting like they care. They come back out and they go right back at it. You know, when I made the decision to change my life, I changed it. It's not easy. I mean, because you wake up and you have impulses to be who you used to be when something bothers you. And then you say, what am I, stupid? You know, get rid of ego, find humility, be somebody that I enjoy doing that. And that's campaigning. I love our president. Everybody knows I don't make that a secret to anybody. And here, somebody I would die for. I was trying to lose my life and risk my life for people, for nonsense. When I look at the president, this is for our country, for the existence, to keep a free America. They could say that I think I'm nuts, but I don't think so at all. I think this country is heading towards, they say, the New World Order. That's a fancy word to say communism, dictatorship. And they can pretend all they want, but they're scaring people into believing. They don't want to scare people, but they're trying to make them believe into something that I know what it is because I learned what manipulation was in the mafia. It's the same thing that's going on now.
Yeah, well, I agree with all of that. And so what is your life like now? You started to touch on President Trump and politics, redemption. How does that manifest itself in your life now? What are you doing?
Every day when I wake up, I check. I have a lot of social media. I got millions of followers on between TikTok, Instagram, Facebooks. I got a team of people that run my pages for me. It's impossible to run them yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not really computer savvy, so I'm kind of dumb actually. And I just try to make a positive impact. Every day I wake up and some of the writers, journalists ask me, did you read the article I said? Did you see this? And I'm like, no, I don't really care, to be honest. I mean, they could be nice people, but I'm not going to live my life by how they write about me. I'm going to live my life to be a better person every day. Every day when I wake up, take advice of myself, of how I can move forward and do something good for today. I can't go back. I don't like when people like this journalist said, do you think, you should be able to be, the dumb word, celebrity, famous, whatever word she used. And I said, oh, would you rather? You rather me just go back to crime? So you tell me I got no way forward, but you don't want me to go backwards. So tell me, you give me advice. And she can't answer that question, obviously. And I'm not saying a guy that, and I want people to understand, I'm strict against, real strict, mentally about anybody that rapes a girl, anybody that harms a child, pedophilia. I'm very aggressively verbal against Epstein and what happened with that and why we can't get the list still. But yet you tell them, I got to go talk to inner city kids and tell them, no, this is a fair country and the laws are fair. No, it isn't. I says, I'm not going to lie to them. I just tell them to live your life in a good way for yourself. But you can't live it for what's going on in this country because they want to destroy it. So this has got to be about ourselves. It's got to be about our family, our inner circle. It's got to be about God. It's got to be about our futures as people that you have, the will to be a better person every day for your own being.
And now you've gotten into politics.
I got into politics because I want to reach more people in my borough. I can, try to help with people that you have politicians, or whether they're local, state or, federal. They have no idea what I know. They can't talk about drugs like I can because I know the drug industry. They can't talk about the border because I moved drugs through the border. I dealt with the cartel members. I dealt with MS-13 bosses. I dealt with cartel guys, bosses in Colombia, in Mexico. I've dealt with everybody around the world. I understand that. I understand crime. I understand police. I'm pro-police. People are amazed when I say that. They didn't come lock me up for no reason. I was doing the wrong thing. They didn't betray me. I betrayed our country, our society, our way of living. So when someone says that, I'm like, they're delusional. If you get pulled over, I always use the same words that I learned from somebody in Brownsville, Mike. He passed away, and, rest in peace. I love the guy. He was a gentleman. He was a Native American black guy. He was friends with a friend of mine that does a lot of work. They do podcasts with me. He says, comply when they pull you over, complain the next day. But comply. Yeah. And then you could complain. So I try to be and teach them some things that are reasonable, requests. Not saying you're wrong or right. Just saying comply. Don't elevate the situation. And at the same time, I got to say, when I hear people talk about, anti-police, there's, I believe, 600,000 911 calls a day. So they're almost a perfect entity if you really think about, how many mistakes they have and how many bad shootings there are a year, but how many did they get? How many police officers got shot? And I could throw numbers around, but I think last year was around 300 or 313, somewhere with a minimum of 286, and there was ambushes against them. They put on a uniform to protect all the people, to protect whether you're a legitimate person or you're a gangster. You got family members that are out on the street too. You got mothers, you got sisters, you got brothers, you got cousins, grandmothers, grandfathers. They got to stay safe too. But I can make it very easy for every gangster that's out there, and I've done it at school talks in Newark. I've done it everywhere. If you don't like the police, I ask a gangster all the time, street kid, gang member, if your mother's getting raped down that alley and two girls are sitting here, your classmates, do you want them to call the police, yes or no? If you say no, you don't love your mother. Yeah. I said, if you say yes, does that mean that you're no good, whatever? I don't know what word you want to use as a street guy. This is nonsense. This is brainwashing belief by other street guys and gangsters trying to con you to believe in hatred instead of somebody that wants something good for their families and themselves. So, but the problem is also in the inner cities where we grew up, we didn't know anything outside that area. We need to show them outside that area. There's a whole world that I learned about. I traveled probably 40 countries now in my life. In those neighborhoods when I was a kid, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't have pants. We used to have to put patches on old pairs of pants that 2 sizes, 3 sizes too big. We use electric tape for our sneakers. So we didn't understand it. All we wanted to do was eat and live good like we've seen somebody driving a nice car. The problem is, how do we teach them? There is ways to get that. Let's show them there's something outside. So when I see these ball players, and I'm not hating on them, they're making $100 million a year, these crazy figures. How about donating 300 tickets to every neighborhood so these kids can go to these games? How about donating money every year so we can pick another 100 or 200 kids so they can go to Florida and see Disney World? Show them there's something outside. How do we bypass every inner city kid and let 20 million illegal immigrants in here? And we just forget about our own kids that are 125,000 of them sleeping on the street, 50,000 veterans that risk their lives for this country. How is that okay with anybody? When they tell me about, if you go to Disney World and there's a 500 that's online, is it okay if 200 people just all of a sudden pass and go in front of the line? Has everybody been okay with that? Of course not. Right. So how would the people that want to come here legal, like my family in Albania, should I tell them to come in illegal because that's the only way you're going to get in? I mean, what kind of advice is this? What the hell is going, excuse my language, what the heck's going on here? Yeah. What's their agenda?
Well, I love what you said about basically taking your life experiences, taking your past, and trying to turn it into something positive, something that actually helps people and helps, I think, make the world a better place. And that you're helping influence, I think, young people and kids in a positive way. I think that's really good. I'm a firm believer in second chances. I'm a firm believer in using life experiences to try to help the world, make the world better. And I think that anybody who thinks that because you might have a criminal past or because you might have spent time in prison, that you should wear a scarlet letter around your neck for the rest of your life. To me, that's very, very stupid. But you're a city councilman now?
I'm a borough councilman.
Borough councilman.
And I have aspirations to run for Congress. Yeah, I'd like to be the
At a
first.
federal level?
Yeah, I'd like to be the first Albanian congressman in this country. And because of my experience, I know and I understand what some of these government officials have done. And I'm talking about what I believe, whether people believe it or not, is our Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party of years ago. It is a communist party, in my belief. And anybody that's following that Democratic Party and says they're a true Democrat, they're doing a disjustice to everybody who's their constituents in every city, town, and county, knowing that they're selling out this country the way they are. They're knowing that they're sending trillions of dollars to other countries, to their NGOs and little pet funds. We're just like the mob. They're getting kickbacks all over the place that I understand, that maybe they don't understand. The Machiavellian movements of what they're doing. They're leaving every kid in the inner city behind that I care about. And you spoke about, second chances. I have friends like Oscar Lugo, who's a Puerto Rican that was charged with a life sentence as a 28-year-old guy, no violence ever in his history, no violence in prison for 20 years ever in his history. Nobody will look at his case again. I've been trying to get people to look at his case. Nobody just dispensed this guy. And then they want to have rights for illegals that are raping girls, killing women, child trafficking, came here, not for the American dream, came here to kill people trying to kill our president. Everybody's okay with this?
Right.
To kill our president? They've lost their mind. I've seen people from the left crying and screaming, oh, they just missed them. Like, what's going on? That they're thinking, like, am I that disconnected to even see that people are talking like, he's the president of our country.
Yeah.
Whether you like him or not, you should be respecting him and get up and respect that flag. But this man risked his life. They attacked him in every which way. I mean, it's so obvious what they did to him. They're so scared of him because of what he did. He exposed that this country isn't a free country. And when Putin said it out of Russia, he laughed. American people think they're free. We're not. And I don't know what anybody's looking at. He's exposed this, and the deep state is exposed. We have a Supreme Court that just ruled that illegal immigrants are okay to stay here. They came here illegally. So should I tell all my family now from Albania and every country, come on in? Because if you come in, they can't do anything to you. What are we saying? So every 50,000 homeless veterans that risk their life, you're not going to put them in hotel rooms? You're not going to give them psychological help, medicine, and anything else, but you're going to give somebody that comes in here and rapes our children, kills them, dispenses them like dogs. When the president's speaking in front of Congress, they don't get up and clap for some of these victims. It's something when they shot at him. I talked about it on my podcast prior to them trying to kill him. It's going to happen. When they did it, Italy came to see me. I said, they're going to try again. When they did again, I said, they're not finished. Iran's going to come. I said, they're going to bring a team of guys. They've let the doors open for all kinds of fentanyl that killed my daughter and everybody else, every other hundreds of thousands of children. This is with a drug, with a poison that was intentional, that Joe Biden sat on his hands with the rest of the Mayorkas and Harris. And it's incredible what these people have done to this country intentionally. This isn't by accident what's going on. They have an agenda to destroy this country, to destroy the morals of this country, to destroy the American flag in this country, changing the vocabulary in this country. For what purpose? Except they don't care about anybody in the inner city. They don't care that they're black and suffering, Spanish and suffering, white and suffering, Indian, Arab, Muslim, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish. They don't care. Their agenda is them, their power. When 50 illegal immigrants went into Martha's Vineyard, they were out the next day. 50. Yeah. But you don't want to put them in. You want to put them in our houses. You want them to kill our kids. You got walls around your houses. You have guns and armed security. I mean, it's just at some point people have to rise up and say what's going on. It's got to be more and more people. And for the dumb things I risked my life for was nonsense and it was stupidity. But this is our president. This is our country. This is where our kids, our grandkids are going to live. So either we do something about it or we sit on our hands and let our grandkids fight. And one day they're going to suffer. And they're going to be in a world where they're told what time to eat. My body, my choice? No, it isn't. You got pregnant women that had babies, and I mean, you forced to vaccine them. And you did exactly what the mob did. If you don't want to take it, you lose your job. You're not a policeman, you're not a fireman, you're not a nurse, you're not a doctor. If you want an education, you're not educated anymore, you're not going to school. If you want to travel to see your family or somebody that's dying overseas, you're not going to see them. If your father or mother are dying in the hospital, you're not allowed in. If you're having turkey dinner and they said more than 5 people, they wanted to stop them and arrest you. That sounds like Hitler. That sounds like communism. That sounds like dictatorship. That sounds like control. Meanwhile, you have guys like Newsom out drinking and partying with his friends and lying. You have, what's her name from Chicago, Lightfoot, whatever, the mayor. She was out getting her hair done. This is communism. This is exactly what dictatorship's about.
You said a second ago, people need to stand up. You said you have aspirations for running for Congress. When are you going to run?
After my elections here, after the election in the state of Jersey, hopefully Jack Ciattarelli, I have a lot of respect for him. He's another guy that I believe will bring family values into this country, I think, into the state. Murphy, in my opinion, destroyed this country. Arrogance, another wealthy business guy that destroyed the businesses in this country, shut down people that suffered their whole lives trying to build their business up and shut it down with disregard. And he's out partying with his family. So you have a governor like Jack Ciattarelli that I believe is in the same thinking process as President Trump. And one by one, I believe all these guys will change the world. And when he comes in and other guys come in, and by next year I'll make that decision and see if I can get the Republican Party behind me and me run for Congress, without a doubt. I'm waiting to see what the results are this next election term.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your story with me, and congratulations on changing your life and inspiring other people with your story. I think that's really cool, and good luck to you as you go out there and fight for our country.
I appreciate it.
We all need to do our part.
Thank you. God bless.